Hi everybody and welcome to SA Rugby Magazine. I've got James Dalton and Mark Keohane with me. Hi guys.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Morning, James.
Nice to be in your company and see you here.
Yeah, always, James. Thank you. Likewise.
Thank you.
Let's get into the Argentina versus New Zealand. Do we see an upset in this one? The bookies sure don't. They've made Argentina 9-1 underdogs.
Yeah, I wish that Argentina could have played the same side they played that test a fortnight ago, which was similar to the side they played Australia. They've made 10 changes, and I think that's why the odds are so stacked against them, and it'll be their third successive test match, and they play Australia next week again. So they really, as always, they get the arse end of any kind of tournament draw. You know, they came over, they were in isolation for 6-7 weeks, 4 matches in a row. You got the All Blacks Wallabies moaning about having to play 4 tests in 5 weeks, then moaning the All Blacks that they didn't know what to do because they had a fortnight off. All you hear from that All Black camp at the moment is whinges and moans. I've never heard so much kind of cowboy crying that I've heard from out of the All Blacks in the last month. It's just absurd.
Yeah, it's quite interesting where they were set the bar and now they almost finding every excuse in the book as to why they're losing.
I mean, it's like listening to Alistair Coetzee when I listen to Foster. Foster saying, we've got apologies from the referees, said that we were played off the ball. We're working on it. Every team plays a team off the ball. The All Blacks under Richie McCaw were masters of taking the first man out, knocking the other one out on the way through, and then obstructing the one on the way back. They just perfected the way to do it. And if they got hit, I mean, McCaw, I read a famous quote from him that he said he tried to hit someone back once early in his career and nearly broke his hand and realized it wasn't worth it. And when I was with the Box and Bullet played against him, I think every oak in the box side hit McCaw and he's at the one of the ruck, and you just get up and run to the next ruck and never complain about it afterwards. And that was the toughness of that team and the hardness. They just come across as such soft cocks at the moment, the way they're talking.
Yeah, they've I think they've certainly
Maybe they should be sponsored by Viagra then.
They need something hard, eh? They certainly do.
They've certainly lost their way. You know, that entitlement that they had previously, and that belief that they just pitch up and literally beat the Argentinians, and they lost all the small battles. And what Mark's saying is quite right about the open side flankers. There was a comment made about that all the open side flankers that played for Argentina, for the All Blacks, were absolutely destructive at that first breakdown to slow the ball up. And now it's not going their way anymore, and they're coming up with an abundance of excuses. The reality was that they were just totally outplayed. They were outclassed. And what for me was remarkable was how intelligent the Argentinians were by making body-high tackles, limiting their ability to distribute the ball, to all their runners.
Yeah. Well, sorry, Kev, one of those things is when Scott Robinson's thing was turned down, there was a feeling with the panel that he was going to be 2 crusaders in terms of his captain was going to be Whitelock, his assistant coach, and they felt he would pick the bulk of that team and that he wouldn't be a representative of New Zealand. What's happened is that you've got a combination of Hurricanes and Blues now, in terms of Plumtree being the Hurricanes coach, the kind of teams they're selecting, and they're playing like those teams. The Hurricanes would take 27-0 against the Stormers and then go and blitz the Bulls by 50 the next week. Where the Crusaders, that consistency, you knew what you were getting. They played very much a percentages game, and they played very intelligent rugby. These guys, superb athletes, but they don't play with any intelligence.
Well, Mark, look at it. If you look at when the All Blacks dominate world rugby, it was strongly a Crusaders' influence.
Definitely.
So I think it speaks for itself. I think, as Mark said the other day, I don't think Foster is going to see 2 years. Maybe might not even see the year out.
Well, like I think you said, they have to pay him. So the end of his first year is now, and he plays Italy next year before the Rugby Championship, and then he's at the end of the year tour. And then his contract is basically up. So they won't pay him out. He will see out the 2 years, but Jesus, it needs something remarkable for them to change. I just think they've done themselves such a disservice in the last month in terms of that aura and that mana around them of this mystique that the All Blacks don't cry, they don't feel any pain, they don't feel any vulnerability. You've got guys who want to be home for Christmas, the guys who don't know what to do in their day off, guys who back in the gym, guys who say they got hit off the ball. It's just, I've never heard anything like that from a New Zealand side.
Yeah.
It sounds like England.
Long may it continue.
what the stories are coming out the All Black camp is that apparently this week they trained in a manner very unlike an All Black team where it was a type of an Argentinian test match. The players putting each other on and off the ball, coming from the wrong side at ruck time or maul time, and trying to regain their discipline. Now, why would you have to regain your discipline? You only struggle with that when you start losing. Then you become desperate.
They've had no discipline under Foster.
Stop slapping people, I guess,
Yeah.
to start with. I mean, the discipline has been atrocious.
I think, Mark, if I may statistically quote, I don't know if it's between 32 or 38 penalties that the All Blacks have conceded in 2 tests. Speaks for itself.
But they used to say in cricket, when the great fast bowlers, who never had to chirp, they'd either bounce you or get your wicket. When they lost their pace, they used to start chirping. It was like this. And I find it's like these All Blacks are trying to do something on the field because they're not physically capable at the moment.
No.
And if they're getting beaten in the collisions, getting beaten at the breakdown, they look clueless. And they're insistent on this dual playmaker role. I mean, Beauden Barrett has looked so lost in the last year in the All Blacks. Is he a 10? Is he a 15? He doesn't seem to get into the game. There was a very interesting stat on the breakdown. Tobias Matson, who's the former All Blacks coach in the Waikato, he said if you look at all the breakdown, the Argentinians were committing 1 player to the breakdown, giving New Zealand the ball, and they had 14 defending. New Zealand had 5 at the breakdown. It's the kind of dumb rugby we used to play against New Zealand. They're playing it now against other teams. And you go back to that Sydney game.
Well, that would explain why the Argentinians won 96% of all their runs.
Exactly, and that impenetrable wall that was there. There was no putting the ball behind them, playing field position, and then building scoreboard pressure. Because if you're 9-3 up against Argentina, you're saying to them, play the game. But if it's 3-all and it's 45 minutes, they start thinking, hang on a second, we can win this and we will win this. And they gain confidence. And that arrogance of the New Zealand decision making, kick to the corner, just like Australia last week. Australia took 5 penalties and kicked to the corner and they couldn't maul. New Zealand can't maul and Australia can't maul at the moment.
Well, if you look at their lineouts, Australia has an average lineout. The All Blacks showed against Argentina that they also had an average lineout, and it's now almost they set the bar for what everybody wanted to be. Now the game has shifted. It's changed.
But if you look at the 10 changes, I just don't believe the Pumas have the depth to field 2 teams like that and actually box another win. I don't think New Zealand will blow them away. I think it will be. It won't be a 20 point and necessarily a bonus point. I think they will still struggle physically, but I don't think these guys have the class to go for 80 minutes against them. But that's not going to kind of detract from the fact that New Zealand's got huge problems. I know it was the right decision for us to pull out, given our conditioning. But geez, I think Rassie and Jacques Nienaber must look and think, this was a year that we could have put them away by 20 plus in both games, and the psychological damage done there really sets you up for the next 2 years.
Well, with the information that Rassie had at hand, he made the right decisions. Hindsight, so it's 2020. So the bookies have them at 17.5-point favourites to beat Argentina. What's your thoughts on that, Mark?
I don't think they'll cover that. I think it will be a 10-point game to the All Blacks. And again, not because the All Blacks have improved in training over the last fortnight. They've picked a very similar team. I just don't think this Argentinian team is going to be strong enough to beat them.
Yeah.
Well, in saying that, are they capable of putting up 3 massive performances? I think that's the first question. Second of all, I would agree with you. It's going to be a toughly fought contest, especially at the breakdown and the contact point. And whoever dominates that will come away with a marginal win. But I would also go in favour of the All Blacks by a small margin.
Yeah, it's a game I won't be betting on. I mean, it's too many changes. But I think New Zealand by 12 plus. They'll win by 12 or more.
And you don't think the Diego Maradona outpouring, playing for something, with these Latinos you never know, they get out there and they're like the French. They get something to be in their bonnet on match day, or they just decide they're not pitching up. Yeah, I just wish it was that.
I think they've got so much respect and self-belief at the moment. You must remember, when you're playing against a team that believes in themselves, and now go onto the pitch against the All Blacks and say, listen, we actually beat them, and we beat them convincingly, and we beat them at all the battles. We beat them at scrum time, we beat them at line-out time, we beat them at the breakdown. We can do it again. So, once you've got that belief, maybe they won't be able to sustain it. but it's all about who's going in there with a stronger mind at the moment. And I think the All Blacks will be going in feeling a little bit more doubtful in their ability.
And also, don't discard cards. Now, the All Blacks have spoken all week about we've got to not retaliate, but they've put it to the other referees. These guys are starting it. You're forcing us to retaliate.
Almost alerting.
And now they've come up with a story. They've been told by the referees that there's an instruction come from World Rugby. The retaliator gets sent first. So they're already making that excuse that we're not allowed to hit back because we're going to get punished, but they're going to hit us, and we know that we want the referees. It's that kind of.
So it's almost like setting you up. So they're gonna tug at the Argentinian. He's gonna retaliate. The ref's been alerted to it the whole week.
And there's no leadership discipline there. If you go back to McCall, was an exceptional leader in the way he played as well. Those guys were disciplined. They wouldn't give away stupid penalties by and large. Everyone seems to be a leader of themselves there at the moment, and that is a problem for them. I think the Argies are going to really antagonize them early on. But pulling of their hair and a little bit off the ball, and I'm sure we're going to see a card or two early, and I just hope it's not on the side of the Argentinians, because if they get a card, then it's over.
No, that's scam.
Then it could be a blowout.
So dark days for New Zealand rugby.
I think there's a lot more than meets the eye. I think the All Blacks have got leadership issues. Sam Cane leading the Chiefs to 0 victories in the Super Rugby competition.
Maybe it's one.
But one,
Yeah.
or was it one?
Maybe
One only.
They didn't win in unlock, but they won before that.
Yeah.
So he's also shown vulnerability with his discipline, which is fizzled down to the rest of the team. And is he the right leader? Foster, everybody was against him. Everyone was pro Robertson. Is there a shift in the camp? What is going to come out in the weeks ahead? Should they lose again to Argentina or win by a small margin?
Well, I don't think I think it's a no-win game for them anyway. You know, in any, it doesn't matter how it ends. A big win won't be good enough, and if a close win will just cast more doubt on the structures.
Yeah, the two from 5 has just said to their public they've got problems, and Sam Cane, bless his soul, saying they don't really know what's going on doesn't really help his case either. So I do remember the late Ruben Kruger. He used to hate the media, and then one day saying to me at a cocktail, you know what, now I know why you guys used to write the crap you used to write, because it is crap. He said, but when you're an open side and you're at the bottom of the ruck, you don't see the game. You just get so upset when they've criticised your fly-off, criticised your fullback, and then you start watching the game, you see how he stuffs up the ball you just won. It's right. So I think if Sam Cane actually watches the game we watched, he may be kind of as vocal.
Did Ruben actually speak English to you?
Yeah.
Because I remember he refused to. He would only reply in Afrikaans.
That's it. I used to speak Afrikaans to him though. But, so, wonderful man.
Absolutely. Bless him.